What up, freedom fighters? It's Kasim, and I'm really excited about today. I'm going to share what I think ends up being one of the most important frameworks for our community. This is something that I would anticipate citing all the time. As a matter of fact, when you joined, I asked you, what's the one thing holding you back? And so y'all know, I reviewed everybody's submissions. We have almost 300 people in our community at the time of this recording, and I looked at every single one of them, and they were shockingly consistent. There were probably 5 categories that every one of those answers could have fit into, and the most common one was this. It was, something to the tune of like, don't know where to put my energy, I don't know how to focus, don't know how to prioritize, not sure what to do next, etc. So I thought to myself, it's time for the focus filter. The focus filter is a framework that I've stolen. It's information and what would you call it? A rules engine that I've stolen from a collection of different resources and then kind of cobbled it together over time. Here's the thing. It's not going to blow your hair back with its brilliance. All right. This isn't like life-changing information. As a matter of fact, it's all stuff that you already know. But very often, maybe most often, the frameworks that we know are true but aren't currently using, those tend to be the most important and the most impactful. And so this is information that you know, but maybe you have yet to distill it into a framework. And that's what I'd like to do for you here now today. I call it the focus filter framework. I do make all my own slides. I know how impressive that is. Try to hold your applause. In order to utilize the focus filter framework, we are going to need to become intimately acquainted with the focus filter tool belt. That's not too much of a mouthful. The focus filter tool belt is a collection of 4 things that you as an entrepreneur need to get really, 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 really good at. And I'm going to go through each one of those 4 things in as much detail as I can. And then we're going to dive into the focus filter itself as a framework. So focus filter tool belt, 4 things on your tool belt. Tool number 1, drum roll. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that because my microphone does noise cancellation, but I just did a little drum roll. Delegate. This is, by the way, going to be your least favorite tool because you're a petulant entrepreneur and you think you know better. And I only know that because I'm the exact same way, and that's how we all are. If you are doing something on a regular basis, it's really difficult for some douchebag in a school community to come along and say, stop doing that. Because if you've been doing it, there's a confirmation bias built in that forces you to acknowledge and adhere to the value of that task. So this is the hardest tool on the tool belt to use. It's why it's going first. It's also the very first one you should use, and you should use it for everything. This should be your mallet and you're playing whack-a-mole. Eliminate, 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 eliminate. There are so many things in your business that you just should not be doing. Many of these things you actually think are profitable. You think they're integral parts of your business. I'll give you my favorite example of all time. For those of you that don't know, I built the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world, and I talk about it all the time. And before I sold that company, we were, I think, the best Google Ads agency on the planet. We did more for clients, dove deeper, found ourselves at greater levels of granularity than any other ad agency. And interestingly, there was a service that I didn't provide that every other ad agency provided, which was creative. We were a media buying company that did not provide any creative services. We wouldn't create ads, media, videos, images, any of those things. We asked those of the client. Here's what's really interesting is when I tell the story in that way, it doesn't matter because you're like, you were great big and you're successful. The thing that I want to stress is when we started, we were attempting to do creative and we were doing it poorly. And when I say poorly, it's hard for me to exaggerate that. And you know what? I think a lot of media buying agencies do creative really poorly. It kind of ends up being one or the other. Either you're the right brain, ultra creative, and you're hard at the data, or you're left brained, ultra analytical, and you're hard at the creative. We were better at the analytical, not great at the creative. And I learned the focus filter tool belt from a guy named Steve Napolitan. And the first tool on my tool belt was Eliminate. And I'm running this business, and we're doing great at the data analysis, not great at the creative. And all of the problems in my business are creative related. Client doesn't like the creative didn't perform, getting pushback, all this iteration, all these costs, trying to find and hire and manage graphic designers and video editors. And it was just hard. And I'm like, man, I'm so good at that. And I'm not good at it. And it doesn't make any money. And I hate it. But a creative or a media buying agency has to offer creative, right? As a matter of fact, many of our clients referred to us as a creative agency. And one day I woke up and I was like, we're not going to do this anymore. And everybody thought I was insane. They were like, you can't be a PPC agency and not offer creative. What ads are you going to run? And I'm like, we'll go to the clients. And what was interesting is the clients that were performing the best for me, they were the ones that already had their own creative or were producing it. Here's what's funny. I didn't lose a single client, not one. And it not only did it not slow down my sales, it actually increased the sales process, because when somebody came in as a prospect and they were interviewing us, one of the questions they used to ask is, well, how are you at creative? And then we'd have to walk through that whole process and show them our portfolio, and our portfolio always sucked. And when they're like, well, what about creative? And we're like, that comes from you. The response shocked me. It was like, oh, okay, this is amazing. You mean I don't have to do this thing that I hate to do, and I can still make money and actually end up charging more? Because we ultimately raised our prices, not because of that. But the point being, it was a sacred cow in the media buying world. Everybody knew you have to offer creative. And we bucked the trend to great effect. There is so much in your business that you can and should just eliminate, but you have to be bold. You have to be bold, and you have to really think about this tool often. As you're traversing through your life, look at your task list, look at your calendar. What can I eliminate? What can I eliminate? What can I eliminate? We'll talk about eliminate a lot. So let's get back to my fancy slide deck that I made myself. Second tool on your tool belt. If you cannot eliminate it, then the second tool, this is always going to go in order, by the way, you are going to automate it. And what's really interesting about the question is, can this be automated? In the world of AI, the answer is basically always yes. The answer is always yes. A follow-up question might be, is it worth it to automate this particular task? If it's a task that takes somebody 10 minutes a day and it would cost $100,000 and many hours to automate it, maybe don't do that, obviously. But the hyperbole isn't meant to annoy you. It's meant to allow for something of a framework unto itself for what you decide to automate, right? Like the juice has to be worth the squeeze. So is the expenditure of the automation in excess of the value of that task? If so, then don't automate it. To be honest with you, preferably eliminate it. But if you can't eliminate something, then you're going to automate it. And the automation capabilities in your organization, I think, are going to be one of the key drivers of your growth. So what that means is, I feel very strongly that you should have somebody that really knows automation. And by the way, I don't mean like a super PhD software engineer. I mean a young buck scrapper who's good at Zapier, right? Like, I think I can do if this, then that, except when. And my very strong opinion is that shouldn't be you. This doesn't have to be an employee. If you're super small, it can be a freelancer. You can go on Upwork and find somebody who can automate stuff for you. But I want this tool to be on your tool belt. And in order for it to be on your tool belt, it has to feel accessible. You can't just wonder like, oh gosh, okay, that's one of the things I need to automate, but who's going to do this for me? All right. I just gave you something that's a needle mover task. This is a little hinge that swings the big door. Find somebody good at automation. Incidentally, bet money they're in this community. So you can post in the community and say, hey, I need somebody who can help me with automation. And I bet you get a bunch of people that raise their hand. Back to our tool belt. If you can't eliminate it and you can't automate it, then you're going to what? You should see this coming if you know me at all. You're going to delegate it. You're going to give this to somebody else. Now, if you are a solopreneur, if you're all by your lonesome, here's what I feel very strongly. The very first hire you make should be an executive assistant. Now, I happen to be extraordinarily partial because I own a staffing agency for executive assistants. But to be frank, not only do you not need to hire through me or my agency, I actually don't believe you should, especially if you're brand new. I'm a premium. We charge way more than you'd have to pay if you actually did this yourself. So the agency that I run is meant for entrepreneurs that are already well on their way. Instead, I wrote a book. I wrote a book called Hire. It's the exact model we use to find our executive assistants, and it's yours for free in this community. Go to the classroom, download the book, and I promise you, you are 7 steps away from the best hire you've ever made in your entire life. And if you're in business making any amount of money, and I promise you that's true, you can afford an executive assistant. Hire a part-time executive assistant from somewhere in Asia, because you can get, at the time of this recording, extraordinary part-time assistant for $500 a month. And that $500 a month, even if you're only making $500 a month right now, is worth the expenditure, because that's what's going to give you everything that you need in order to really start to grow your business. One pro tip, make sure when you hire that person, they're at least a little good at automation, or they can figure it out. Because that thing that we talked about a moment ago in terms of you having somebody that can do that for you, that could be your executive assistant. Isn't that amazing? Look how I'm solving all your problems all at once. So here we go. The focus filter tool belt. Eliminate. If you can't eliminate it, automate. If you can't automate, delegate. If you can't delegate, what do you do? What do you do? You focus. Oh my goodness. We filtered down to focus. It is the focus filter tool belt. Kasim did fulfill on his promise. Eliminate, automate, delegate, focus. Those are the tools on your tool belt. Those are the tools on your tool belt. Now that we have those tools, that's still not enough. You have to know when and where and how to apply those tools, right? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go a little bit further. We kind of have we have our, what would you call this? This is like the x-axis. The x-axis is the collection of tools we have, but the y-axis is when and where and how and why we apply those tools. So let's dive a little bit deeper. This is the focus filter framework. This is actually the filtering process. So you're going to have 4 columns. I'm going to ultimately fill up this entire page with 4 columns. And the 4 columns represent a certain type of work. Column 1 is what I call assembly line work. This is $5 an hour work. And I use that term, $5 an hour, as a pejorative, meaning it's work that nobody's time is worth doing. $5 an hour work is stuff that anybody with a pulse can do. So this is the usual suspect: data entry, copy paste, follow established processes. This is the stuff, to be frank, that AI should already replace. But in some instances, because we're still waiting for AGI, it might be hard to kind of piece all that together. But your $5 an hour work is your assembly line work. All right, so I'm going to explain each of these columns of work, and then we're going to talk about how to apply the focus filter tool belt to the focus filter framework. There's a lot of onomatopoeia in focus filter. I think I did a good job naming that. So this is our $5 an hour work. This is our column 1 work. And by the way, you, Mr. or Ms. Entrepreneur, do a ton of this, more than you might believe. And we're going to talk about an exercise that you can go through at the end of this video in order to really identify the work that you're doing and how you're doing it. So this is column 1, $5 an hour work. Column 2, $50 an hour work. This is skilled labor. This is work that actually requires some specialty knowledge and a little attention to detail. So this might be, management and supervision, client management, basic maintenance and repairs, basic creativity, basic thought leadership, basic sales. Note the keyword basic. This is something that anybody with a relative degree of intelligence, and say, above the poverty line of intelligence and some training, should be able to pull off. This is your skilled labor. And especially if you're a solopreneur, chances are this is what you do. I'm willing to bet this is what you do for the majority of your day. 20% of your day is spent in $5 an hour work, assembly line work, and then 80, maybe 75% or 70% of your day is spent in skilled labor. And then the remaining 5 or 10% of your day maybe, if you're lucky and you're growing, be spent in what I call superstar work. This is $500 an hour work. This is real work. This is real work. This is high value, sensitive, leverageable, scalable. I hate the word scale, by the way. I shouldn't even use this. These are old slides. Growable. This is, software engineers, negotiations, high-end sales, attorneys, offer design, process creation. You can read. You see what's on the slides. This is the work that makes up most high-end business. And for newbie entrepreneurs, you're not here yet. And that's okay, by the way. That is perfectly okay. As a matter of fact, you kind of maybe shouldn't be. Because until you crack the code on how to run or build a business, if you've rushed straight into superstar work, the odds are you're just a really high-end freelancer that's going to have an even harder time working themselves out of the business, because you're the superstar of your business, which means that you're so integral to the process, you're irreplaceable, which is a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous place to be. So, column 1, assembly line work. Column 2, skilled labor. Column 3, superstar work. Can you guess what column 4 is? Drum roll. I didn't drum roll that time. Column 4 is Neo. This is $5,000 an hour work. You are the only person in the world capable of this. This is when you are Steve Jobs, or Elon Musk, or Picasso, or Van Gogh, or Spielberg, or Oprah, or whoever. This is you, being awesome, being an assassin, being a rock star. This is worth $5,000 an hour. Now, that's actually not an exaggeration, $5,000 an hour. Think about it for a moment. If you're billing out at a reasonable rate, which, a reasonable rate, I think in a professional world needs to be at least 3 figures. So let's say it's $100 an hour, $150 or $200 an hour, whatever it ends up being. Remember that business is a leverageable enterprise, and that the exit value of your business is calculated as a multiple. So I'll give you my business as an example. Solutions 8 sold for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but Solutions 8 sold for, the agencies of that size at that time doing that amount of money sold for 6 to 8x. So let's use 8x just to maybe buttress my point a little bit. 8x, 8 times. That means that my business sold for 8 times the amount of money I made. So if you're selling your time for $250 an hour, that $250 an hour is really worth 8 times 250, 8 times whatever you're making. So if you're selling it at 250 and then you have some OpEx or overhead, maybe you're only pulling down 200, right? Which would be $1,600 worth of value. That 200 is worth 8x, 1,600. And I happen to believe that the $5,000 number is an inference as to the true value of your time. I don't think your time is worth $200 an hour, because that is the time isolated to the task. But your time isn't just isolated to the task. It's also an investment in the equity of the business, which would mean client relationships, reputation, growth, morale, employee sticking power, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So your time is massively valuable. If you don't believe that, you are always going to find business hard, because you're always going to be finding yourself in the position of doing columns 1, columns 2, columns 3. Maybe if you're lucky, column 3, and you'll never, ever, 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 ever get to column 4. Column 4 is where this is the real business growth. This is where that happens. So you understand the 4 columns. Now, if you do not mind, what I would like to do is I would like to talk to you about how to apply the focus filter tool belt to the focus filter framework, right? Let's go. So at the very bottom here, you'll see that we have 4 question marks, and the question marks are meant for you to assign the tools on your tool belt. And you should probably have already gotten this without me even saying it, but I'm going to go there anyway, and I'm not trying to shame anybody. If you haven't gotten there, that's okay. Column 1, assembly line work. The number 1 tool on your tool belt is elimination. You should be working to eliminate all of this garbage. And the elimination piece just means, hey, there's a bunch of stuff here that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing. One of the most important things to eliminate that I think falls in column 1 work is rote and routine meetings. Meetings are very often looked at as superstar work or, maybe skilled labor work, and they're not. They're not. It's some middle manager mentality that if we're in a meeting, we're being productive, and really nothing comes out of the meeting and everybody wastes a bunch of time. That's a good example of secret hidden column 1 work. The first tool on your tool belt for column 1 should be eliminate. And that's not the only tool possible. Sometimes somebody really does have to do the copy and the pasting, and that's okay. Then you move to automate, then you move to delegate, so on and so forth. But I want you to be really aggressive with eliminate when it comes to column 1. Column 2, you guessed it, automate. Can we automate as much of this as we possibly can? Obviously, you want to eliminate some of it, but given that it's skilled labor, it's unlikely that a ton of this has passed through your lens without the proxy of elimination. Although the example I gave you earlier about me no longer doing creative was the skilled labor part, and I eliminated it. So there's a lot that you can eliminate and still be in business and still be profitable. Examine your sacred cows. Why am I doing this? Does this really get me to where I want to go? Is this it's worth doing? Eliminate, and then if you can't eliminate, you're going to automate. And the automation piece, again, hopefully you have a really good EA who knows how to automate, because I know you have a book that's going to teach you how to get that person. So there's no reason for you not to have that person. You're 7 steps away from the greatest hire you've ever had. Go to my classroom section in the school community and download the book, follow the steps, and you'll be there. I promise you. That's column 2. Eliminate for column 1, automate for column 2. Column 3, you've already guessed it. Delegate. Delegate column 3. This is how you know you have hired a true peak performer. It's easy breezy lemon squeezy to delegate column 1. As a matter of fact, you probably don't have a peak performer if they're willing to do this work. This shouldn't be the majority of their job. You should give people meaningful work. So column 1 should be 20% of their day at most. Easy breezy lemon squeezy to delegate column 1. Pretty accessible to delegate column 2. Doesn't take a rocket scientist. Delegating column 3 means you're good at delegation and you have somebody effective to delegate to. This should be your goal. Your goal should be to find people who are capable of column 3 work and then keep them busy. If you did nothing but this, by the way, you'd have a successful and profitable business. You do not have to move into column 4 in order to have a successful, profitable, scalable, God, I hate that word, exitable business. You could live in column 3 as long as you're delegating, because when you're delegating column 3, that is what? That's leverage. So you are now in a position where there's somebody who's smart enough to do high-end $500 an hour work, who's doing the work that you're selling. And so all you need to do is keep them busy. And now whatever you make, less what you pay them is what you take home. That's an amazing business. That's an awesome business. As a matter of fact, that's about as good as most businesses get. Most businesses don't get past column 3, and most businesses don't get past delegate. But if you can at least get there, that's kind of good news, isn't it? You don't even have to be great at this framework. If you can just get there, you can just get to column 3, delegating column 3, you're going to have a massively, massively successful business that could be very profitable. Now, if you're not satiated with the minimum, then let's move to column 4. And again, you've already gotten there. Column 4 is where you focus. This, if the world were perfect, this would be 100% of your day. This is you doing the thing that only you're capable of doing. This, for me, right now, what I'm doing here, creating this content, this is my column 4. Could somebody else create the content? Sure, but not like me. And that's good and bad, right? I think I'm attracting some of you, and I think I'm repelling some of you. But that attract and repel, that's also part of my Neo. That's me figuring out who I am, where I live, who my audience is, who my people are, and growing myself as an authority. Find your Neo. Find the thing that only you can do, and then focus on that thing. Eliminate column 1 entirely. Automate column 2 as much as you can. Delegate column 3 to the point of profitability, and then focus on your column 4. And this is the thing. If you were to be really, really diligent with this, if you were to really commit to this, I believe this is what's going to make your business massively profitable. And it's not just about making your business profitable. This is what's going to make you fulfilled. This is what's going to light you up. You're going to be so excited to wake up because you're going to live your whole life in column 4 and you're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to focus. A quick note, and this is an entirely different framework, but I'm going to give it a little lip service because it's really important here. When you're in column 4, you need at least 2, preferably 4-hour blocks. There's an interesting study that talks about manager time, and I think they call it technician time or engineer time. Manager time looks at things in hour and half-hour long blocks. Technician time looks at things at 2 and 4-hour blocks. Why? Because it takes 2 and 4 hours to create anything. Managers like half-hour and hour-long blocks. Why? Because managers like meetings. Guess what? Managers suck. And we hate them. No, we don't. They're beautiful people. I'm just kidding. But they're actually, because of the way that businesses are structured, we default to manager time, which is catastrophically damaging to the technicians because they're the ones that are actually supposed to do the work, but they're backing into the manager's schedule instead of the other way around. It should be the managers backing in the technician's schedule, which means you need preferably, now 2 hours is okay. You can get focused work done in 2 hours, but man, if you had a 4-hour block, imagine that. Imagine a 4-hour block every day. Can you imagine a 4-hour block every day to just sink into the most important thing in your business and do that thing? Which, by the way, if you don't know what that thing is, I think it's authority building. I think it's what I'm doing here, just you doing the same thing for your audience. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But maybe it's not. 4 hours is ideal. 2 hours is necessary. You need a 2-hour block. And if you don't know where you're going to get that block, if you're like, dude, I'm stretched so thin, I have meetings all day, I can't not do the thing, I think you should wake up early. That's what I think. I think you should wake up early. You wake up at 4, work till 6, and you're like, oh, golly, Kasim, I can't believe you would even suggest that. What kind of psychopath would do that? I did. I worked 80 hours a week for 20 years. Woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning for 20 years. Some gaps there, of course. But guess what? I'm a decamillionaire. Welfare baby turned decamillionaire. How do you do that, Kasim? Wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and work 80 hours a week for 20 years. Is there an easier way? I don't know, dude. I didn't find the easy way. I found the hard way. And I'm exaggerating. You're not going to have to do that for 20 years. Maybe it's not 4. Maybe it's 5 to 7. If you're a night owl, maybe it's in the evening. I have my issues with why I think that doesn't work. But you need focused blocks. And so if you can be disciplined and you can block out 2 hours in your day where nobody talks to you and you really do get some focused work done, fan-freaking-tastic. Do that. Be disciplined. Let everybody know, do not talk to me. You knock on my door and you get a tomato in the face. But if you can't, wake up early. This is especially true for parents. You know, if you're a family person and you're like, I don't know where I'm ever going to get focused work done, start waking up early. What's really interesting about this is when you wake up early and you do have those focus blocks, the focus blocks begin to bleed into the remainder of your day. You find yourself like so excited and so galvanized by it that you capture more land and more market share. I hope that this is helpful. I'm doing my best to explain as many frameworks as I possibly can. My goal is to help you achieve real freedom through entrepreneurship. And it's not just freedom for you. It's freedom for everybody that you serve and everybody who serves you. It's all your employers and vendors and contractors, and it's all of your clients. I want freedom for everybody. I want us to find a way to alchemize entrepreneurship so that it really serves. And I think this framework can do it. I know, y'all, it's simple. I know it's basic. That's what makes it great. It's so accessible. It's so accessible. You've got 4 columns and you got 4 tools and you know how to use them. You know how to use them. So here's the exercise I have for you. Ready? If you're willing, I would like you to spend the next week cataloging everything you do. And this is not, it's not hard, but it's tedious. Catalog everything you do. Just have a little notepad there or Evernote or whatever it is that you use and just write down the tasks as you undertake them. And you don't have to get too granular. You know, I would focus on 15-minute blocks. Anything that takes about 15 minutes is probably a task. So it could be, you know, I checked email and then I had to take this meeting with these people and then I did these things. Catalog everything that you do. Catalog everything you do. And then put all of those tasks on a spreadsheet broken down into 4 columns. And then look at every task that you undertook. This will take 20 minutes at the end of every day, probably less, but you can say, is this a column 1 task, a column 2 task, a column 3 task, or a column 4 task? And then put all of the tasks that you accomplished that day into the necessary columns. And I think at the end of the week, you may be relatively surprised at the value of the work that you are undertaking. And if that's true, then what I'd like for you to do is I'd like you to start to fix it. Anything in column 1, work to eliminate. If you can't eliminate it, automate it. Can't automate it, delegate it. If you don't have somebody to delegate to, congratulations, you just found the next most important thing for you to do. And I'm not pushing you to hire from me. By the way, I'd love for you to do that. If you want to go to Pareto and you've got the money and you're like, hey, if you have more money than time, go hire one of my people. If you have more time than money, go find your own and use my amazing hire. This is the greatest hiring framework ever put down to paper, by the way. I'm allowed to say that because it's not really mine. I just stole it. It's 20 years of thievery. It's a Frankenstein. I borrowed from everybody, and it's 7 steps, and you have all the templates and all the resources and everything that you will need to do it. And y'all, I promise you, this is the needle mover. If you find yourself an amazing assistant, oh man, people are miracles, and what they're going to be capable of for you, I think, is really going to blow your mind. So I hope that this framework was helpful. I hope you'll do the homework. Write down, just spend every day writing down what it is that you're doing throughout the day. Little notepad next to you. At the end of the day, put it in the columns. At the end of the week, look at the columns, break them down by percentages if you can, and then decide to yourself, like, this is what I'm going to do. These are the steps I'm going to take. Use the focus filter framework to your advantage. This is going to help you know exactly what to do in your business and how to really move the needle. You will never know how much I'm rooting for you, how much I want you to succeed. We're in this together. We're the same in so many ways. Entrepreneurs are a different breed, and it's lonely. So I'm glad we have this community, as much for my sake as for yours. And if there's anything that I can do better, if there are other frameworks that you'd like to hear, ways that you think that I can present information better, I'd love to know. I'd love to improve. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm figuring it out too. That's entrepreneurship. So thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being in my community. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.